Hello, today we are doing a quiz for UCertify CompTIA CySA Plus. First question. Chris wants to perform network-based asset discovery. What limitation will he encounter if he relies on a port scanner to perform his discovery? Port scanners cannot detect vulnerabilities. Port scanner can create a denial of service condition for many modern systems. Firewalls can prevent port scanners from detecting systems. Port scanners cannot determine what services are running on a given port. So, of course, port scanners cannot detect vulnerabilities. Limitation. Right. Next question. Laura wants to conduct a search for hosts using Recon-ng -ng, but wants to leverage a search engine with API access to acquire existing data. What module should she use using Recon-ng? Recon domains, hosts, Shodan host name. Mm, so Shodan is a search engine for internet-connected devices, and Recon-ng can use its API to gather host information. That's why it's the right module. Recon company's module is import list. Let's leave it. What flag does Nmap use to enable operating system identification? OSCAN, OID, OS. So the O flag enables operating system detection in Nmap. Let's see. Oh. So when using Nmap, a popular network scanning tool, the O flag is used to enable operating system detection by analyzing network responses. Mm, okay, not a valid flag. System. Okay, and the question was exactly about operating system. That's why, okay. Tuan wants to gather additional information about the domain that he has entered in Maltego. What functionality is used to perform server-based actions in Maltego? Mm, what is even Maltego? I am not familiar with it. Please explain what is Maltego and if transformed. Answer. Let's go chat. Let's go chat. Maltego is a data mining and link analysis tool widely used in cybersecurity, digital forensics, and OSINT, open source intelligence. It helps visualize relationships between entities such as domains, IP addresses, people, social media profile, companies, email addresses. Maltego is especially powerful for mapping infrastructure and connections, making it a go-to tool. What are transforms? A transform is the core functionality in Maltego. It takes one piece of information, an entity, and queries data sources like DNS records, who is database, Shodan, virus total, related information. To find a related information, starting with the domain, a transform could find associate IP addresses, who is registration data, other domains. So when you enter a domain and want Maltego to go out and gather additional data using server-based actions, you run a transform. Automated server-based lookups that expand your investigation graph. Okay. Jamie or Jaime is using the Angry IP scanner and notices that it supports multiple types of pings to identify hosts. Why might she choose to use a specific type of ping over others? I want an explanation. Ex- So that it supports multiple types of pings to identify hosts. Why might she choose to use a specific type of ping over others? To bypass firewalls, to allow better vulnerability detection, bypass firewalls. Angry IP scanner is a fast and lightweight network scanner used to detect live hosts and open ports in a range of IP addresses. It's fast and lightweight. Okay, it works by sending different types of pings to a target to see if it responds. Common uses: network inventory, detecting active devices, checking for open services. It supports multiple ping methods: ICMP, standard P, TCP ping, UDP ping, like send to specific port. What Jaime chose to use a specific type of ping over others. ICMP pings, normal ping, are often blocked by firewalls. Okay, that makes sense. TCP or UDP pings can sometimes succeed when ICMP is blocked because they look like a normal traffic. Ah, okay. Um, Give me an example of angry IP scanner. Still, I don't see the comments. Open Angry IP Scanner. You will see a simple window with an IP range bar. Selecting ping type, go to Tools, Preferences, Scanning. Choose one of the ping options: ICMP, Echo, Normal, TCP port, Probe, enter a port like 80. So how do you run this? Command line tool. Oh, okay. So you have to go to the official site, download the version for your operating system, install, and open. When it starts, you will see the main window. At the top is the IP range field. Mhm. Below that is the result table, empty until you scan. Okay, learning something new every day. Did it work? Free download. IP range angry IP scanner. I don't remember learning about this, but I'm sure I saw that. Mm, Valerie wants to use a graphical interface to control Nmap and wants to display her scans as a Nmap, a visual map to help her understand her target networks. What tool from the following list should she use? Interface to control Nmap and wants to display her scans as a visual map. Um, what each one does. So ZenMap is the official graphical interface for Nmap. It can display results as maps for easier understanding. WMap is a web scanner module inside Metasploit framework. Purpose: tests web applications for vulnerabilities. Use case: like Spider, or it crawls websites and checks for security issues. ZenMap, correct answer for GUI, official graphical user interface for Nmap, makes Nmap easier to use by letting you run scans and view results visually. Beginners or analysts who want to save scans, profiles, results, and generate reports without memorizing Nmap commands. Nmap.js, a deprecated, lesser known GUI front end for Nmap written in JTK. Purpose: similar to ZenMap, but less popular and no longer actively maintained. Okay. Used historically before ZenMap became the main GUI, Angry IP scanner, lightweight, fast network scanner with a simple GUI. Quickly finds live hosts and open ports across IP ranges. Use case: great for quick scans on local networks. So it's well-known GUI. Okay, good to know. Murali wants to scan a network using Nmap and has run a scan without any flags, without discovering all of the hosts that he thinks should show. What scan flags can he use to scan without performing host discovery that will also determine if services are open on the system? PN, I would like to know what each term stands for. So I will ask chat what each term stands for. Explain simply. Let's go. PS. Probe with SYN sends a TCP SYN packet to see if a host responds like a testing. If a port is open, use case used in host discovery to check if hosts are alive. PN. No ping stands for no ping. Skips host discovery and assumes all hosts are up, then proceeds with port scanning. Use case: useful when firewalls block ICMP. So you will still want to check for open services. SL list scan. What it doesn't scan the network, just lists the targets Nmap would scan. Use case: good for verifying your target list before running a scan. SN, no port scan, no ping, no port scan. It's hard to remember those. It's they are hard to remember because it if it says like probe with SYN, it would be okay. PS probe SYN, right? But for example, here no ping is PN and P is capital letter. Um, it should be like NP. And for example, two small letters. Just my understanding. SL, it should be LS, not scanless. Let's scanless. Okay. SN, no scan. LS would be easier. SN. So it's like scan, no. PN, no ping. PN. It's like in a reverse way. Mm. So yeah, PN says keep the host discovery, just scan all targets as if they are online, like all hosts are up. Okay. After running an nmap scan, Geoff sees ports 80 and 443 open on a system he scanned. What reasonable guess can he make about the system based on these results? So the system is running a database server. The system is a Linux system. The system is running a web server. So since 80 and 443 each is HTTP and HTTPS, it's a web server. However, what would be ports for other answers? What what ports would match the other answers? Okay, database, right. 3306 MySQL, right. 1433 Microsoft SQL Server. 1521 Oracle Database. 5432 Postgres SQL. 27017 MongoDB. Linux. Right, SSH makes sense. Postfix SendMail. 25 SNMP, right? No. Simple Mail Network Protocol. Simple Mail. Yes, this is 25. 22 would be the most common to connect to Linux. 111 is RPC bind used in NFS, common on Linux, Unix. This is web server, Windows. Okay, RDP makes sense. 3389. WinRM, remote management. 5985, 5986, 135, 139, 445 Windows RPC SMB file sharing. Ah, okay. God, tell me more about it. 111 RPC bind. It's a remote procedure call. It's a way for the program on one computer to request a service, run a function procedure on another computer across the network. Think of it like remote function execution. It's a service that maps RPC program numbers to network port numbers. When an RPC remote procedure call based service like NFS or NIS starts, it registers with RPC bind I'm service X and I'm listening on port Y. When a client wants to connect to that service, it first asks RPC bind on port 111. Where is service X? RPC bind replies with the actual port. Where is it used? A network file system allows file sharing between Unix Linux systems. Network information service centralizes user login info across multiple machines. Other RPC daemons on Unix Linux. What is important? Why is it important? Port 111 TCP or 111 UDP being open often means the system is running NFS network file system or remote protocol, right? Remote procedure or remote procedure call services. Attackers sometimes target it to enumerate available RPC services. Enumerate means gather data available, gather RPC services, exploit all unpatched network files system services for unauthorized access. Okay, in short, RPC remote procedure call, RPC bind service that matches a remote procedure call program numbers to ports runs on port 111. RPC bind common on Unix, Linux because NFS and other system services rely on it. Mm, RPC scan. So Nmap SR, yes. Let's go. Let's see. Example. To scan for RPC services, you use the SR flag in Nmap. If the target is a Linux Unix system with RPC bind running, you might see something like this. RPC open, NFS open. Okay. For 4045 is NFS locking daemon helps with file access control across client. Okay, let's go to the next question. Emily wants to gather open source intelligence and centralize it using an open source tool. Which of the following tools is best suited to managing the collection of data for her OSINT efforts? Angry IP Scanner, open source intelligence, Metasploit framework, and map. So Recon NG collects, stores, and organizes intelligence data. Tools like Nmap, Angry Scanner, or are not OSINT. Um, of course, daemon is a background process, and OSINT stands for open source intelligence. Sally, OSINT, yeah. Okay, Sally wants to use operating system in identification using Nmap to determine what operating system a device is running. Which of the following is not a data point used by Nmap to identify operating system? Header. So this is not correct answer. There is no such operating system header, no such term as TCP operating system header. And the rest are used for fingerprints to fingerprint operating system, TCP sequences, TCP options. We can also ask chat how Nmap is using those for finger printing operating system. Mm, 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 mm. How Nmap does operating system fingerprinting? So it's Nmap dash O and target. Nmap sends a series of crafted TCP, UDP, and ISMP probes and analyzes how the target responds. Different operating systems implement TCP IP stacks in slightly different ways. Those quirks help Nmap guess the operating system. TCP sequences Nmap looks at the initial sequence number ISN generated during TCP handshakes. Different operating system kernels use different algorithms for ISNs. Example, Linux, Windows, and Cisco routers all have unique sequence number patterns. This number is generated during TCP handshake. TCP options. TCP packets can carry options like maximum segment size, MSS, window scaling, selective acknowledgements, SOC. Different operating systems support different sets and orders of these options. Example, Linux might advertise MSS in a certain order. TCP OS header. Mm, mhm. So TCP has a standard header, source port, destination port, flags, etc., etc. But it doesn't carry operating system specific information. That's why the answer is not a data point. TCP timestamps. Some systems enable the TCP timestamp option. The way timestamps increment and wrap around varies across operating system. Some systems enable TCP timestamp. Um, Tell me more about um, first of all, RFC is request for comments. Okay, request for comments 1323. TCP extension for high performance published in 1992 purpose to improve TCP performance on high speed and long delay networks. Think satellite links, gigabit backbones. Defines three main extensions: window scaling, timestamps, and protection against wrapped sequence numbers. PAWS. Pause. Window scaling. Normally TCP's window size field is 16 bits. So it's 2 to the power of 16? No, 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 no. I'm not sure why I said 2. Yes, yes, it's 2 to the power of 16. Uh, Header is 16 bits long. The maximum size is a scale factor is introduced, shift left by up to 14. That means uh, max value. Why there was -1? Request for comments. Mm-hmm. Because counting starts from 0, not 1. With a smaller bit size, 3 bits, it's 8. Range 0 to 7, so maximum is 7. 16, so the maximum is 15. Mm-hmm. It's not subtracting anything from the number, it just reflects the maximum is 1 less that, than the total count. Okay, so this is not correct. Next, Jack wants to scan a system using the Angry IP scanner. What information does he need to run the scan? Of course, he needs the IP address. Yes. Without this, he cannot do the scan. Hugh wants to perform network footprinting as part of a reconnaissance effort. Which of the following tools is best suited to passive footprinting given a domain name as the starting point for her efforts? Footprinting. It was Maltigo? Yes. Um, so passive footprinting, Maltigo gathers information without directly scanning the target. Maltigo is great for OSINT, open source intelligence, and domain based data collection, DNS, emails, relationships. I need to check the Maltigo. Um, how can I use? I never used Maltigo, to be honest. It's my first time seeing this name, or if I saw that before, I just don't remember. It's so many things when you are in school and just learning about cybersecurity. You just barely barely touch the surface of the topic, and then you go to the next topic. So it's hard to learn everything and memorize unless you would use it. But it's hard to use everything if you have like 15 different cybersecurity classes and you go fast with every topic because you have to, then it's just impossible to memorize everything, especially if you are new to cybersecurity like me. It has been for me it has been 2 years, 2.5 years since I started studying cybersecurity. What Maltigo is for? Awesome. It helps start with a one piece of data, email, IP, or domain, and then expand into related data by running transforms, install and launch. Oh, I didn't open the link. Maltigo graphs investigation. Oh, wow, that looks interesting. Windows extension. I can download this. Okay, it's fast. It's already downloading. Um, Features. Angry IP. I remember using that. I remember this. It was a while ago, but I do remember. Windows installer. Um, I would use with Windows. I will download this. Okay. So Maltigo domains, IP, DNS, emails. Okay. Let's go to the next question. So this is for the operating system, and this is no ping. No ping. Susan runs an nmap scan using the following command: nmap, which is a scan operating system, no ping, and this is the address, IP address. What information will she see about the host she scans? Um, okay, I think because this skips the no ping, so this skips host discovery. It assumes that all hosts are up. Um, PN assumes that all hosts, right, are up, right? O is for operating system. Let's see. Exactly. Okay. O enables operating system detection. Tries to fingerprint the operating system by analyzing responses. No ping assumes all hosts are up. Normally, Nmap first pings to see if a host is alive. If pings are blocked, firewall hosts might look dead. When they are not, PN skips that and directly attempts port scans. Host name. Reverse DNS. Reverse DNS if resolvable. Service ports open, closed, filtered. Operating system based on TCP. Next question. Which command line tool can be used to determine the path that traffic takes to a remote system? Which command line used to determine the path? Trace route. Yes, it shows path and hops that packets take to reach a destination. This is incorrect. And this lookup is for DNS, who is for the host, for the domain, for address, for information about the host. Trace route is for host, for hops, packets that packets take to reach a destination. Right. Jason wants to conduct a port scanning using the Metaexploit framework. What tool can he use from the framework to do this? Um, just basic Nmap. Also, these are not built in Metaexploit, so Nmap. So process what process uses information such as the way that the system's TCP stack responds to queries, what TCP options it supports, and the initial windows size it uses. such as the way that a system TCP stack responds to queries. What TCP options it supports? I am a little confused with this question, or I am just tired. Let's see. Explain. Let's learn. So, service identification, what it is. Figuring out what service is running on a port. Example, port 80 could be Apache, Nginx. Tools, Nmap, SV, version detection. Not the right answer. Operating system, what it is. Determining the operating system by analyzing how the TCP/IP stack behaves. Sequence numbers, support TCP options, initial window size, ISMP, and map width. Oh, application scanning, testing specific applications running on open ports for details like versions, weaknesses, misconfigurations. Fuzzing, sending lots of unexpected, malformed, or random input to an application or protocol to see if it crashes or exposes vulnerabilities. Example, feeding a web form random data until it throws an error. Tools, AFL, Peach, Fuzzer, Burp Suite, Intruder, malformed random input, TCP stack responses. So how this can happen? Step by step, shortly. In short, so OS detection step by step, send probes and map sends special TCP UDP. Observe responses. The target replies according to how its TCP IP stack is programmed. Check queue clues, TCP sequence numbers. How predictable are they? Which one are present? Initial window size. How big is the advertised receive buffer? Timestamps. How do they increment? Compared to database, Nmap matches these behaviors against its OS fingerprint. Report guess. Nmap outputs the most likely operating systems. Mm, so what are the indicators of Windows operating system, Linux, Mac, Apple, iOS? Um, Window size is usually 8,192, 65,535, or 64,240. Varies by version. TCP Windows tends to send MSS SOC timestamp in a specific order. TTL, time to live, usually 128 by default. Other clue, open net BIOS, SMB ports. Okay, Linux. Often, window size 5,840, 29,200, or multiples of 14,000. Um, MSS, SOC, TS, NOP, WS, time to live 64, other clue open, SSH, and here Mac, Darwin kernel, BSD. Initial TCP Windows 65, but increments similar to BSD systems because Mac is Unix based. TTL 64. BSD stands for Berkeley Software Distribution, originally a Unix operating system developed at the University of California, Berkeley in the late 1970s and 1980s. It started as modification to AT&T's original Unix, but eventually became its own branch of the Unix family tree. It introduced many modern features we still use today: TCP/IP stack, the network foundation of the Internet, sockets, API, how programs talk to networks, file system like UFS, BSD code became the base for several major operating systems. FreeBSD, OpenBSD, famous for security. Servers, firewall, storage systems. NetBSD runs on almost any hardware. macOS, iOS, built on Darwin, which is derived from Berkeley software distribution. A Unix derived. Oh boy, pronunciation. Let's see how to pronounce this word. Uh, the re-
Derivative.
derivative, derivative, pohodna, derivative, offshoot, derivative. Okay. So operating system. The answer was operating system. Which of the following is not a reason that security professionals often perform packet capture while conducting port and vulnerability scanning? To provide a timeline, work, process documentation to capture additional data, to prevent external attacks. It doesn't prevent from anything. It's just to gather information, certain information, so it doesn't protect from external attacks. Lee wants to use Recon-NG to gather data from systems. Which of the following is not a common use for Recon-NG? It's not a common use. This is the use for Recon-NG finding target IP address, conducting open source intelligence gathering, who is DNS similar data. This is for Recon-NG. Looking for sensitive files, conducting vulnerability scans. Um, let's ask ChatGPT what, just in general, Recon-NG does in 10 points or less simple. Go chat, teach me. Simplified. A free open source OSINT framework like Metasploit, but for recon purpose. Helps gather intelligence about targets from public sources. Comes with built-in modules for tasks. Domains, emails, uses APIs, search engines, social media, and who is lets you automate recon instead of doing it manually. domains, can find subdomains and IPs linked to a domain, can collect emails, usernames, and social media accounts, reporting stores results in a database, CLI based, pre engagement, Reconnaissance penetration testing. Mm, it's a toolkit that automates OSINT. Mm, okay, so it doesn't do scan, it doesn't do scan for um, vulnerabilities. Exactly. Recall edgy actually what actually does is reconnaissance gathering, find subdomains, collect who is, harvest email addresses, identify IP ranges, post social media accounts. What it does not, no vulnerability scanning like Nessus, OpenVAS, Nikto, Nmap, and SE scripts, no exploitation. That's Metasploit's job. Okay, next question. What information is used to identify network segments and topology when conducting Nmap scan? Network segments, IP address, of course. Um, and let's go to chat. And why? Short and simple, please. I always like to track the additional explanation because it helps me memorize why. So IP addresses tell you which devices belong to which network segment, of course. By scanning ranges of IPs, Nmap can map out which hosts are alive, how they are grouped in subnets, the overall network topology layout. In short, IP addresses identify segments. Ports identify services on a host. Oh, this is good. This is like obvious, but sometimes you need the time to click in your brain. Services are connected to ports. This is so obvious. And IP addresses are connected to, related to segments. To network segments. Okay, next question and last one. Megan wants to use the meta exploit framework to conduct a web application vulnerability scan. What module from the following is the best suited for her needs? Meta exploit framework. Vulnerability. Um, so Nmap doesn't do the vulnerability, but explain each what they do and expand expand shortcuts. The last question, and I'm going to study for ISC to certify in cybersecurity in a moment. Okay, so WMAP is stands for Web Map, a meta exploit module for web app scanning. Did she want to? Oh, that's why. Web application. Web Map, a meta exploit module for web app scanning. What it does adds web application scanning capability into meta exploit, works like a mini vulnerability scanner for web applications, can find issues like SQL injections. Um, so I want to see, show me example results of this command and XSS cross-site scripting directory traversal SMB server message block login. This is this does brute force or brute forces or tests login credentials against the SMB service used for file sharing in Windows. Helps find weak or reused passwords in Windows networks. Use case more about network authentication attacks, not web apps. Helps find weak or reused passwords. Um, um, how to use it and show me the output. Let's go to the first one. Typical workflow in Metaexploit web map. So bash, so it's in Metaexploit MSF6 load wmap. Then sites dash a. What does it do? Dash a t e. This is the target, right? This is the target site. Select the target site. Aha, add. Okay, this is add. Select, run the scan, example results. Um, oh yeah, so indeed it shows all the vulnerabilities testing, and identified the directory traversal. Um, explain directory explain simply, shortly. Directory traversal. Let's go. And let's go back to SMB auxiliary scanner SMB login purpose brute forces or validates username password combination against SMB. Start use auxiliary scanner. Okay. Set the target host. Set host. User administration SMB password. User file. Set pass. Run. Starting. Failed. Success. One host. I remember doing one lab about this long time ago. What this means? Successful login. Directory traversal, aka path traversal. It's a web vulnerability where an attacker tricks an application into giving access to files outside the intended folder. They do this by using special path sequences like uh, means go up one directory, normal request, malicious request. So it goes like continuously, read sensitive system files. Um, so it is like a continuous process. And let's go back here. Okay, we already read this. Yes, the that / sequence is like a step back, go up. Repeating it just keeps going higher until you reach the root directory of the system. Once at the root, the attacker can move down into sensitive folders like etc or Linux or C colon at Windows on Windows. Mm, goes up 4 times. So no, it's not continuous. It's like it depends from how many dots and backward or forward slashes you will add. Left back backward slash is for Windows. Let's memorize this with the muscle memory. This is Windows. This is Linux. Right, left, Windows, right, Linux. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's check and test. Let's see the result. Okay. And was everything correct or no? First question was wrong. First question. Chris wants to perform network-based asset discovery. What limitation will he encounter if he relies on a port scanner? Firewalls can prevent port scanners from detecting systems. Uh, that's true. Firewalls, network-based asset discovery. But if he will add the flag that all hosts are up, then it can circumvent the firewall. Or network-based asset discovery. Or if he would use angry IP scanner, but it's not in the question, right? So firewalls can prevent responses to port scanners, making systems essentially invisible to the scanner. A port scanner alone is not sufficient for asset discovery. Port scanners often have some limited vulnerability detection built in, often relying on version information or fingerprinting, but not detecting vulnerabilities does not prevent discovery. Port scanner makes the best guess. Port scanners do typically cause not typically cause problems for most modern applications. Um, so what he can use to circumvent firewalls? Let's ask again. Probably angry IP scanner. Idle scan uses a third-party zombie host to perform the scan indirectly, makes it harder for the firewall IDS. Idle scan. Fragmented packets splits probe packets into smaller fragments. Some firewalls struggle to reassemble them properly, letting packets slip through. Decoy scan sends extra fake traffic. Source port manipulation, source port. Send scans using a trusted port. Some firewalls allow this traffic. T0 to T5 slow down scans so they blend in and avoid triggering firewall. Syn scan stealth only sends syn packets half open connection. Often slips past basic firewalls compared to a full application layer. Banner grabbing instead of raw port scanner. Ah, how to do it? Um, so Nmap, stealth scanning, stealth scan, Nmap, mm, scan specific parts. Since it never completes the full handshake, it often doesn't get logged by basic services. Some firewalls and IDS miss it because it looks like a failed connection. Okay, this was incorrect. And 19. Time to live. Wow. Time to live, provided as part of responses, is used to evaluate the number of hops in a network and thus to derive the best guess at network topology. While IP addresses can sometimes be related to network topology, they are less likely to be directly associated with it. Host names and port numbers have no correlation to the topology. Yeah, host names no, but IP addresses, I would say yes. Um, um, explain shortly and simply why TTL. So TTL, time to live, a number in each packet that decreases by one at every router hop. By looking at the TTL value responses, Nmap can estimate how many hops away the host is, where routers are in the path, the structure topology of the network. TTL shows the number of hops a packet takes. But what IP addresses? So indicate to what network segment the device belong. Uh-huh. IP can be masked by not network. Oh boy. Access translation? Network not stands for network address translation. Okay. No brainer. That was good. It means I remember something. That's good. Good job, my brain. Okay, IP addresses show logical subnets, right, but can be misleading. TTL reveals the actual physical logical path and hops better works in IPs. Ah, give me an example how it is better in showing. Mhm. This is the example network, router A, firewall, network address translation server, IP addresses. You can scan and see the server's IP. Base of NAT, you don't see the real. Huh. It looks like the server is one hop away, misleading. You miss the fact that there are multiple hops inside. What TTL shows. When you send probes, the server replies with TTL reduced by each hop. Server is 3 hops away, path, PC, router A, firewall. For accurate picture of topology, not just an IP mask. Okay, thank you. See you soon. We are going to study for ISC2 certified in cybersecurity. Happy Sunday.